recording. So we just want to let everybody know we're going to try recording the call, so folks weren't able to join us, they can view this at a later time. So I believe the recording has started, and I'll hand it over to India to get us started.
Hi again, everybody. We really appreciate you joining us. And the first thing I want to say is that we want very much to have these calls be helpful in order to help you be successful. And so we're going to take a little bit of a turn today. And when we're finished with some of the VISTA campus and resources that Dave is going to review, we're just going to have a discussion about some of these things and really want to hear from you about how you are learning best, what kinds of things you're in need of, what kinds of things you're not in need of, etc. So we'll discuss that at the end. And I also wanted to make a couple of announcements. Do I get to do that? Okay. Actually, this is Nicole's announcement. I'll steal it for the moment. We are working with both VISTA and Senior Corps projects to discover what Martin Luther King Day service events are going on in the state. I don't know if any of you are holding events or know of events. It's always really, really terrific to be involved in that. We always like for national service members to do something on National Days of Service, whether it's volunteering or going to an event, those sorts of things. And so we want to make sure that you all have the information about what's going on anywhere. If the National Service website, nationalservice.gov/MLK Day, you can go on there and put in your zip code and find out what events are going on in your area. We also want to make sure we're getting the events registered because we want to have a good showing for of Wisconsin. We know there are a lot of things going on. We just want to be able to hold those up. And so if you have an event, first, would you let Nicole know, because she's sort of tracking them for our projects. And second, if you go to nationalservice.gov/MLK Day, you can register yours and your folks, and also let your visitors know that this is someplace where they can put in a zip code and find out what's going on near them. So that would be terrific. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we have leftover V50 t-shirts. They're the athletic gray shirts with the V50 logo. And I think they say "Make Poverty History" on the back. And so if you have VISTAs or yourselves, this is an offer for you as well, who are in need of VISTA 50 t-shirts, and we're happy to get rid of them, send us a note with the number and sizes, and we will get them to you. I will mention too that they seem to run a little big. So that's been my experience. Nicole and I have had that experience. So if you want to do that, first come, first serve, but get those to us. And we have a bunch of them, so we really would like to give them out. If there are alums that you know who could use one too, that would be terrific. So those conclude my announcements for today. And I will, actually, one more thing. So we sent out a very respectable calendar full of trainings and information that we want to hold on the monthly calls. And so because we're going to have a discussion in a little bit about what we want to do with the monthly calls, we've actually cut this one down a bit. Dave's going to do a tour of resources for us. So we're not having exactly what was on the previously mentioned agenda with the call today, but Dave's going to provide some great resources, I think. And Amanda and I are going to co-lead the discussion afterwards. So take it away, Mr. Parcio.
All right. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. I heard that some folks are on Skype, some folks aren't able to connect via Skype. During this overview of resources, I'm going to take folks kind of on a interactive tour, you could say. So if you're not able to follow along with the screen share, I would encourage pulling up your browser, and I can point some things out to you guys, and you can follow along on the browser. So really what we wanted to take a quick minute to talk with everybody about today was resources like the VISTA campus, the National Service Knowledge Network, just a kind of a reminder of what's out there, kind of a where do I find that opportunity to talk, and to hear more from you guys as well as to what's your experience with these resources been, What do you find yourself commonly looking for? What have you found helpful? What have you not found helpful? You kind of share as a team. So some of this might be a review for some folks. Maybe some of it's new. So kind of first, we just want to get a pulse check. How do folks use the VISTA campus? Would anybody like to share if you've engaged with it recently, if you've used it with your VISTA members, if you've used it as a supervisor? What's kind of the impressions out there with the group?
This is actually boot camp. I guess I could say I usually use it if I'm trying to like check a policy or what I should do in a specific situation with a VISTA and things like that. So that's my big use for it.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashley, for sharing that. So yeah, there's great stuff on there. With the handbooks, you can quickly look up VISTA policy and answer that question for your VISTA member. Anybody else want to share things they've used or experienced with the VISTA campus, whether it's been positive, not so positive, a tip they would share to their colleagues?
This is Rachel in the grieving. I used the review template. I was looking up a way to do a 90-day review with my VISTA, and I saw one on there, so that was very helpful. And I also use it to kind of the rate of Brown County VISTAs, because I totally forgot. So, yeah, that's helpful.
Awesome. So you checked out those supervisor resources and found a 90-day check-in template to use for like a performance review. Very cool. Awesome. Anybody else want to share their experience? All right, cool. Well, thank you guys for sharing. So for those of you who maybe don't have a VISTA campus account, it sounds like most of you probably do, but just a reminder, it's really easy to create an account. You just go to vistacampus.gov. There's a link to create a new account if you don't have one when you log in. And all you have to do is select the supervisor tab from the dropdown, and you'll have access to the supervisor sections of the VISTA campus. So really quick and easy to create one. We are encouraging everybody to have one. Those of you that are running multi-site programs with lots of sub-site supervisors, I would highly encourage you consider encouraging your sub-site supervisors to create VISTA campus accounts as well. As some of you have probably seen, there's a lot of great resources on here that your sub-site supervisors might want to take a look at when they're working with their VISTAs or when they have questions about different program aspects as well. So that's how you create an account. I'm going to take a step out of here from the PowerPoint, and now we're going to actually go on our virtual tour. So if you guys aren't able to see this, feel free to pull up on your browser vistacampus.gov. So when you come to the VISTA campus page, I'm already logged in here, so you guys are seeing the campus page. I just want to point out a couple things, what's on here. There's a lot of great stuff for you all as supervisors. There's also a lot of great stuff for your VISTA members. So when your VISTAs go to PSO, they learn a lot about these resources, but sometimes, you know, there's a lot of PSO, maybe they forget, maybe they don't realize it. So it's helpful sometimes for you to know, because there might be some things on here you want to suggest they take a look at. Under the Life as a VISTA tab, if you see that drop down when you hover over it, it's broken into the different parts of service for a VISTA member. So when they're getting ready to start at PSO, there's pre-PSO resources posted up here. You got the member handbook, you've got overview of the benefits. For VISTAs that are preparing their end-of-year service, there's stuff on here about looking for jobs, how to utilize non-competitive eligibility, how to utilize their Ed Award, how close of service travel works. There's a lot of great stuff on here for VISTA members. And the second tab over, the Work tab, this is something that's been refreshed and updated over the past year by VISTA at the national level. There's a lot of great stuff in here that covers different topics and areas of work that VISTA members typically engage in. Things like recruiting volunteers, grant writing, best practices around communication and marketing activities, even topical materials like poverty in America, financial literacy, special initiatives for the VISTA program like the Together for Tomorrow initiative. So if you have VISTA members who are engaging in these kind of activities or are just interested in learning more about it, you'll find toolkits, samples, resources on these sections that can be really helpful for VISTA members throughout their projects. The Connect and Learn tab has actually a variety of resources for both VISTA members and supervisors. So I'm going to go ahead and click in here to show you guys an example. If you go to forums, and I think this is one of the things that's pretty great about the VISTA campus, is there's a forum feature. There's the forums for VISTAs, there's forums for supervisors, and this is an opportunity for VISTA members and for supervisors to connect with peers across the country. VISTAs can ask each other questions, connect with folks. Maybe you have a VISTA member working around building a financial literacy program for single parents in a community. Maybe there's a VISTA member doing that as well across the country. So an opportunity to connect, share resources, brainstorm ideas. Same goes for you guys. As in the Supervisor Cafe, there's some great stuff in here around, hey, how would I, what was your experience with VISTA recruitment? What are you doing with your VISTA training? Could we improve it? Folks can ask questions or post, hey, we've got positions open. Please share with your VISTA members that are serving in maybe a program across the country. So a great opportunity for updates or Q&A with fellow supervisors. We go back here to Connect and Learn. I want to point out the VISTA Blend courses. Many of you might be familiar with this already, but there are opportunities for VISTA members to engage in more intensive online courses around volunteer mobilization and fundraising and grant writing. This is coordinated a couple of times a year, usually by the season, and VISTA members can actually receive college credit for it. So it's a really great resource. I know when I was in Arizona, I heard some VISTA members in our program enrolled in these courses and really appreciated it. So maybe some of you guys have had that experience as well. If you haven't tapped into this, I'd encourage you to maybe talk with your VISTA members about it. Outside of these two more intensive courses that folks can enroll in, if you go to the webinars section, you see again kind of like the forums, it's broken down for VISTAs and for supervisors. For VISTA members, there's a variety of topics on here. It ranges from planning your professional development, learning how to write proposals for grants, topical about the work or topical about life as a VISTA member. VISTA does a pretty good job of recording these, and about 1 to 2 weeks following the webinar, they get them posted up here so folks can watch like on-demand webinars in case they can't attend. So even if it's not coming up on the upcoming schedule, you can access a lot of this stuff from the past year on the right side here. The same kind of goes for supervisors, and it's more pitched towards your experience as a supervisor. It might be specific to sub-site supervisors once in a while. Sometimes it's specific to everyone. For example, coming up in December, there's going to be a webinar on strategies for connecting sites and VISTAs at a distance. So I know here in Wisconsin, many of you have VISTAs across the state. That might be worth checking out. You can see on the on-demand side here, there's lots of stuff about using e-grants or common issues, how to train your site supervisors, working with project sustainability. So there's a lot of stuff on here from the past year that's been recorded that could be really great. Really encourage folks to take a look at that. The leader section, if you check that out, some of you might say, hey, I don't have a VISTA leader, so does that apply to me? I would still encourage folks check this out. Leaders, this is a great chance to connect with other leaders. They do post things like, for example, the can I get a copy of that? And this is where even if you don't have a leader in your program, there might be items on here that are a great resource for your VISTA project. So for example, one of the resources on here is a team building exercise that a VISTA leader led with their VISTA members on poverty. Another one on here is a VISTA survival guide, or a workshop on organizing a sustainability binder for the project. So a lot of great stuff on here for supervisors as well. So I just would encourage folks to take a look at that. And then again in the supervisor section, kind of similar to how the VISTA member section, Life as a VISTA is really focused at the VISTA member. This is really focused for you guys. Maybe you're becoming a supervisor, you're new, getting the big picture, understanding basic policies. A lot of resources around supporting the VISTA assignment, around recruiting, around coaching and supporting members through their year of service, and other resources around things like using e-grants or connecting with other supervisors on the Supervisor Cafe. If those of you who have cost share with your projects, there's also some cost share resources on here too. So a lot of great stuff. I'm glad to hear some folks are already utilizing it. I think it was beginning of last year, there was a big kind of rework to the campus. So if it's been a little while since you've utilized it, I'd encourage going back, take another look, see if there's things on there that have been added since the last time you checked. One of the new resources that we're releasing specifically for you guys, so customized part of the VISTA campus site is our new Wisconsin VISTA campus page. So this is something that we've put together specifically for all of you as our VISTA project directors and staff and our partners here in Wisconsin. We really want this page to be a go-to resource for you all to make things a little bit easier. I know when you're going through the campus, things are kind of all over. You're like, well, where was that form? I knew it was somewhere. So our goal here is this could be your first stop. We want this to be a spot where you'll find the majority of things you need for day-to-day support of your VISTA project. If there's stuff on here that you want us to try changing or want us to add to, please send us your thoughts, send us your feedback. We want this to be a helpful tool for everybody. Right here at the top, it says Forums and Announcements. If you guys are following along with your browser, you won't be able to see this yet. So just a quick disclaimer, I'll fill you guys in a second. But for those of you who are watching on the Skype, here at the top it says News from the State Office or Discussion Forum. So the discussion forum here is just like the other one we saw when I clicked in on the VISTA and supervisor cafes. Right now this one's blank because it's fresh for all of you. This is a great opportunity for you to post questions or topics, Q&A with your fellow supervisors. You can share stories about something that happened on your project. So you could promote an upcoming event or promote an accomplishment so that your fellow VISTA sponsors and colleagues around the state can kind of have an idea of what's going on. So the forum is right there at the front. As you scroll down, this is broken down by themes. So basic project guidance and policies, enrolling and managing VISTA members, project reporting, application and renewals for the grants, project management resources, some information about summer associates, about using e-grants, about basic national service information, and some additional resources at the bottom. How this site works is when you click on one of these larger links, so the theme title, that'll take you to a page that will show you a host of resources broken out into further subcategories. So for example, when we click on the policy link, it tells us the travel policy forms, the criminal history check policy, what the teleservice policy is, citizenship and education award policy, and so forth. This stuff is updated by VISTA at the national level, so if something changes, the most up-to-date info comes into here from national. When we go back a page, the supplemental resources we post below it are things that we're posting here in addition to those national ones from the state of Wisconsin. So just so you kind of have an idea, the big link takes you to the national collection of resources, and then we try to provide some supplemental docs underneath that big link. If you click on them, it should load them up. If you have any trouble with any of the links, drop us a quick message and we'll make sure we get it fixed. Under enrolling and managing members, you'll see the enrollment spreadsheet for when we're going through recruitment, the updated timeline for February for those of you who are recruiting, the updated VAD checklist, and some of the other forms that you may recall from our presentation last time around with VADs and service opportunities. A couple other helpful resources and forms like the outside employment request form or sample one-on-one templates with your VISTA members. A couple coming soon resources, the PSO calendar, we're still pending confirmation on what that's looking like for 2016, so we'll post that when that gets up there. We're looking to put together some updated project progress report guidance for everybody, so once that's put together, we'll put that up there. And so forth. So as you guys explore this, you'll see that there's a lot on here. And again, this is a living document and a growing space. So if you have, suggestions or needs, let us know what those are. And then if you have examples of things that you guys do with your VISTA project, we'd love to include that on here. If you've got sample training or sample recruitment materials or sample team builders, sample measuring tools that you think could be helpful for other VISTA projects in Wisconsin, send them to us and we'll add them to the additional resources section, or if they fall into one of these themes, we'll throw them in here so that everybody could benefit from that. And we'd love to get everybody's contact information posted up here, so that's coming soon, so you guys can reach out to each other. And as well, we'd love to, if you have a VISTA Facebook page or a website page for your project, let us know and we'll put a link up here so other folks can check that out too. So that's the quick overview of the new Wisconsin VISTA Campus State page. Does anybody have any initial questions about that?
As far as letting you know where to find information on our business, so I can send that to India and Nicole.
What sort of information are you looking for, Rachel?
He just said, like, if you want to, if you have a page that you have something about your business, you can send it to him or something, and then.
If you want to send us any kind of links or information about your presence on Facebook or online, just go ahead and send it to wi@cns.gov, and someone will get it taken care of.
Okay.
Yeah, and the one thing I forgot to mention, I should have mentioned this at the beginning. Once you've got your VISTA Campus account all set up, send us your account information, whether it's the email you're registered with it, your account name. We can look you up in the system and then add you to this page so that when you log into the VISTA Campus page, you'll have a State Offices tab here that you can click to view this page. It's a private page that's really intended just for our VISTA sponsors, project directors, and project staff. So please send us your info and we'll get you added so you can access this page. Any other questions? All right, one other quick thing I wanted to highlight before I hand this over to India and Amanda is outside of the VISTA campus, we put a link in here to get us started. The National Service Knowledge Network is also a great resource hub for folks running national service programs. So if you click that link there, it's going to take you over to this page. I put a hot link in just so it's easy to get to. You can also go to nationalservice.gov and click here on Knowledge Networks to get here as well. But this has a lot of information. This pertains to CNCS as a whole. So Senior Corps grantees, VISTA grantees, AmeriCorps State National grantees. So it's less VISTA focused, but still a lot of great stuff on here. A couple of things I would highlight is there's more information here on the criminal history check expectations. If your VISTA project has financial resources like a support grant or a program grant, there's some great info around financial management. There's a great section on online courses that's got self-paced tutorials on some of these different topics. And there's some great information on here around performance measurement. So if you're looking at the performance measures for your VISTA projects and you want to know more about what's our expectations around collecting this data, how do we count these numbers, how do they align, there's some great interactive tools on the performance measurement tab here on the National Service Knowledge Network. So I would just highlight bookmarking this and taking a look through when you guys have the chance. And if you have any questions about any of these resources after today's call, drop Nicole or I or India email or call and we'd be happy to walk through it with you.
Would you go over one more time?
Sure.
Where you go into the VISTA campus to access the state page?
We have to grant them access, don't we?
Yeah, so when you log into the VISTA campus page, you're going to get this to access the state office page at the state office tab here at the top. So, it says about VISTA, life as a VISTA, all the way across to supervisors and then state offices. So you're going to have a link to that. But prior to that showing up on your account page, please send us your information so we can add you to the page so you have access to it. So we have to first put your account information in on our end so that you can get the link to pop up on your end. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to India and Amanda. I'm going to pull our PowerPoint back up for everybody.
So who thinks that will be helpful? Are you looking at this as a resource that would be useful, especially the state page right now? Well, I bet you will in the future. So let me kick off the next section, and I'm appreciative to Amanda for helping to sort of co-facilitate this. And let me just back up a little bit. So when we got off the phone the last time, one of the things we did was sort of reflect on who was on the phone and the subjects that we were talking about, and also who's been around for a while and how is this information sort of hitting. And so I took the opportunity to call up 3 or 4 of you and kind of have sideline conversations about, in general, the monthly calls, about you know, how information can best be received, about expertise that exists out there, because it's not, all the expertise is not here in the state office, obviously, and about how we might sort of work those things together of lending expertise, having modes of communication that are helpful to people, and also looking about maybe sectioning off in some ways new projects and old projects depending on what the subject might be. So I asked Amanda if she would, well, she was one of the people that I talked to and had some great ideas. And I wonder for a second, Amanda, if you might just sort of explain or identify what things you thought might be helpful, and maybe we could start the discussion with that.
Okay, so I think that there are kind of a lot of things that could be really helpful if we were to open up the last 30 minutes of each webinar with almost kind of like a peer mentoring or forum of our own. I think that as far as what the UW Parkside can offer in the sense of resources or case studies or things like that would be ways that any project that is more local can get supervisors and VISTAs together and almost building a cohort, because that's really been kind of the backbone of the project that we started from the very beginning. So we've been able to have more supervisor trainings than some of the statewide ones, and so and also more site visits, and so that's it. And then as far as stuff that we would love to know is obviously any site, I know Habitat definitely has a lot of resources for recruitment, and something that just came about right now is how do I put this? Effective use of the advisory council, because I know that many sites need to have, and many projects have an advisory council, and I think we've changed our advisory council over 4 times. I don't know if they've ever actually given us advice. And so those are some of the kind of the things, some of the topics that could revolve around it, and I don't know, I guess I'd maybe like to open it up to other sites, both for what they can offer, and also what form do you think would best be? Would it be basically just discussions kind of like we're having now? Should someone be leading it? Share PowerPoint? Actual like face-to-face things as we can get paperwork better? I don't know. So I guess I'll open it up to anyone else.
This is Rachel in Green Bay. I like having a PowerPoint in front of me to, you know, because I learn better just like reading it and soaking it in. So I'm just kind of taking notes on what you're talking about today. But yeah, to have that PowerPoint in front of me is a good reference.
Okay. And do you think, and Rachel, if I remember correctly, you are fairly new, right?
Yep.
To VISTA, and so, I mean, even in your few months, do you feel as if you'd ever want to lead something, or would you you're still soaking everything in?
Yeah, I feel like I don't know enough about it yet to be comfortable in that position, but
okay.
maybe in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And else have anything? Do we all kind of like the idea of having both something visual that we can look at as well as conversation happening back and forth?
I would say yes to that. This is Ashley. So
okay.
As well as conversation.
Sure.
Yeah,
and you know, I'm thinking
ideas off each other.
Yeah, sorry. I should be better at listening. So bouncing ideas off of each other. And I'm thinking maybe, as I think out loud, it's always hard to not have the awkward silences that happen with a conference call as people are kind of thinking about things. So perhaps pre-prepared questions, if we want to have a discussion, might help people get their answers set up right away. Yeah. All right. Who else? I'm an instructor, so I'm just going to call on people that I see here. Has Sue Curtis spoken?
And let me just say, if someone's not on the call but on the Skype, we are following the message bar, so feel free to type in questions or comments there.
Sure, absolutely. So we heard from Ashley and then Rachel from Habitat.
Rachel from the Y.
Sorry, Rachel from the Y. I apologize. I would get the word Habitat as I was saying that.
Does anyone else have an idea of either a form that they would like to have, or perhaps what the next conversation should be about? Either they want to lead it or they want to know more. India, is there kind of like something that you would, as far as timeline-wise, that you would like us to go over?
Yeah, well, you know what? I'd say a couple things. One is that the sort of game plan that we put together really was sort of looking at timelines around starting PSOs and a series of things. And we don't have to do exactly that, but I think there are some things that might be helpful timeline-wise. The other thing I'd say is that, and I'll just share, perhaps I should have done this a minute ago, some of the conversations I had with people. I'd love to get feedback on this. Things like have a program director co-lead, which is what we're doing sort of right here. Have an open line sharing time for all. I really like the idea of having a sort of a half an hour at the end for open discussion or questions, those sorts of things. There were suggestions of maybe a mentor or a buddy for new soups. That the piece that's missing is hearing from other people. Can we get together in person? Could some sub-sites come as well? And then, for some people, Rachel, it's kind of funny because, for you're a person that PowerPoint comes in handy. For some people, their eyes glaze over, or maybe it's just because we're talking. I don't know. But people want different things at different points. I really appreciate hearing kind of, what's most helpful to you as well as what can you offer. And I think that's the discussion, Amanda, that you're leading. So.
Right. And I'm going to look at next month, and the topic for next month is reporting. Oh, I was actually just going to say that. So we have kind of the quarterly and monthly reports. So does anyone have particular questions about reporting or something that they would like to know or want to lead it? Or perhaps bring in a sub-site that's like I like what Thea had said about perhaps bringing in a sub-site supervisor or even VISTA, I don't know about VISTA leaders want to be in this call, but what kind of struggles do you guys have with reporting and how can we address them?
One question I have is I wrote down on my notes last time that the reporting time was going to change, and that might be aligned to our renewal process. And I thought I was going to know when that is, but maybe I just misunderstood. I thought maybe that the reporting time frame was changing.
Sue, what we have done is two things. In the last year we changed from quarterly to semi-annually for projects that have been around a while. And then what we have done is gone in and done reporting on a schedule of MAs. And so you would be receiving a note when your, like the 30-day advance note that your progress report would be due. So they aren't going to be the same as on quarters and on semi-annuals anymore. You're correct.
So how will I know when mine would be due? Because we collect information like with a survey monkey, so then that just helps me know like when I have to put the data together. But when will I know like what my date is?
Okay. You know what, Sue? I will get that information to you.
I think maybe this is Ashley again. Something that might be helpful for me is, and I just heard the lady before mention that she gets her information from SurveyMonkey. Okay. Would be like how the 6 months between reports is a lot to remember, and so I had various forms of how I track and collect my information, and sometimes I like something and then I'll change it, and then I don't like it. Or like my tracking mechanism. So does somebody have a really good example of some way that they use to track their numbers with us that might give, because I've changed my tracking thing like 5 different times, I think. So I'm trying to find exactly what works. So I think that's amazing. And I think, definitely have like best practice examples, but I think it might be even helpful to have everyone able to report on exactly what they use, because tracking is going to, different types of systems are going to be good for other groups depending on the makeup of that particular project.
Hey, Ashley, what numbers are you talking about tracking?
Well, just like some of the group terms, and I'm taking a lot of that stuff from that PPR report that we just filled out.
Yep.
You know, especially that one after a year. You know, I try to track that for again, quarterly.
Yep.
You know, but I mean, maybe you know, I follow the quarterly report guideline, and I write my numbers down on there quarterly, so that, and then I save them for the year, and then put them all together in one.
Got it.
But I mean, maybe there's something out there that, because it seems to take me a very long time to do that, and maybe that's just the way it is. But you know, I was just wondering if there was a way for me to make it a little more efficient on my end.
Does somebody have a recommendation what they use?
We have SurveyMonkey. It's easy because you can put your emails of all of your VISTAs in, and the site supervisors work on the report. The VISTA writes the report, but the site supervisor works with them. And so together they finalize the piece that comes back to me. And we have success stories, different pieces that we use on our website, and links and things that they can put in, that I can then put in on the website. So it makes it pretty easy with some, because I don't have to add up numbers. It adds them for me, and then it makes it a pretty easy way to track everything.
VISTA projects just so anyone
Yeah, we still we use a Word form at this point. It might be a fillable form. I have to check what we have new. But we used to do it monthly, and sorry, is there someone? Okay, we used to do it monthly, but we've since switched to quarterly, as far as not only the numbers, but the stories that we need to tell and the narratives for both reporting on eGrants and then our own marketing and getting the word out about VISTA in our community. And we found that, like, I don't know who's doing monthly or who's doing quarterly, but it seems like quarterly is best, because monthly, the VISTAs kind of it was almost going on autopilot, and so they almost, you know, stopped giving us the good stories and everything. And so we do have that, and we make sure to have both the yearly supplemental report info on there as well as the progress report info. But we don't, and being a smaller group too, we don't have to, and the fact that we've got, where we used to have dedicated VISTA leader to help us out, we never got too fancy with the technology. Did anyone else want to share what they have?
Hey, Amanda, can we go back to the question of what various projects have to offer for training?
Sure. Does anyone else have like a top-notch advisory council that they would be willing to talk about? Not here, no. Yeah, we don't even have one at Cooley Camp. Okay, how about, does anyone feel like they really excel at something, or they've been doing, you know, this particular project for a long time, and they have a lot to offer, some best practices? No one?
I will bring up DPI, since they're not here to defend themselves.
Okay.
They do Google Hangouts communication with their VISTAs because they're around the state, and other methods, the other communication methods that they feel they're really pretty good at keeping their VISTAs informed. And Christine could also lead a talk about orientation, or, you know, getting folks on the ground and getting them acclimated.
Wonderful. And Habitat is very large as well. Do you guys have any, as far as or communication or even recruitment advice to give? I'm not sure if Ben's just typing or she's on the call.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any feedback from her right now. Oh, she's typing.
Okay. How about, Raisa, you know what might be nice, if there was something too, is to almost have it like what I wish I would have known when I started, from the perspective of someone who's just a few months in. True, yeah.
That's a great idea, Amanda.
I find too that some of these webinars are great because like I've been doing this specific project for a long time and VISTA for even longer, and this almost like reintroduces me to some new resources that because I haven't been engaged in it for a long time I've almost forgot about. And so having it from like the new supervisor's perspective I think could really kind of bring about some things like, oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and I was just actually on that VISTA campus website and looking at like preparing your VISTA for transitioning and stuff like that. Granted, she's not done till next summer, but that was really interesting to me, like, you know, kind of helping her maybe like revamp her resume or whatever, so keep track of everything that she's done while she was here, and other stuff, just to kind of help me and her prepare for what she needs.
Sure, absolutely, and that's actually something I think that like the supervisor all of a sudden at the end is like, oh my god, my business is going to like, you know, transition and have no money or you know, not necessarily a job lined up. And I look at Brookside, I think does a pretty decent job because we have the resources of the university behind us to do a lot of career preparation. But if anyone else has lots, I'm sure, like Habitat or any other organization has information about that, that'd be a great call and conversation too.
So just an update from Habitat, if no one's seeing the message bar, they do say that they're using Gmail and monthly calls to stay in contact with their VISTAs and keep them engaged. Recruitment is something that they're working on to improve, and they're using some of the ideas that Dave provided at last month's call. So looks like everyone's struggling a little bit with recruitment right now.
Yeah. Okay, Andy, any other ideas for maybe topics that you would like to see covered? I know that we've come up with some pretty good ones.
Yeah, no, these are very helpful. It's really nice to know what it is that you're in need of. I will say that there are some things that we feel are pretty important. When we look at progress reports or we're getting applications, those sorts of things, there may be things that we drill down on or we want to drill down on for everybody so that we can improve those kinds of things. And then some of the other, obviously, topics that are in the original agenda that we sent. So how about this? Amanda, maybe we can have a call with you between now and obviously the next call and kick around some of the ideas, and then perhaps we find a co-leader for next time through that process as well.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yep.
Anybody else, anything that you want to mention or questions? Is this helpful?
I think for extension, it would be helpful if the site supervisors could be engaged because I have 16 people that actually do the recruitment. They're the people that are the front line. They're the ones that work with the business directly. So they would have more of the stories than in my role as coordinator.
Okay. We can sure look at doing that, Sue. Anybody else? Okay, well, listen, have a wonderful week. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to check out the state page. Send us your, once you register, and we'll get you on for that. I think that's going to be a really valuable resource for us. Appreciate your time, and we'll talk soon.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.